What's going on, guys? It's Hi, and I'm the type of person that likes to wear a watch as much as possible. And I own a few different watches, but few that I'm willing to wear extensively because of the possible damage and the value and meaning that these watches have to me. Over the past few years, I've ended up just wearing a G-Shock on most occasions. Because the G-Shock is extremely rugged, it can take a beating and keep going. The G-Shock functions perfectly for what I'm looking for, but it just doesn't appeal to me aesthetically. I just personally prefer analog mechanical watches, so I've recently decided to pick up a mechanical watch that I can use, possibly damage, and not worry too much about. After some searching, I've decided on the Seiko SKX. My particular SKX is the SKX009J with the Pepsi bezel and being made in Japan. But I think that everything that I say in this video should be pertinent to all SKX007s and SKX009s. I've owned this watch for some time now, but have been sitting on a review because what else is there to say about this watch? The SKX line is iconic and extremely popular, so there are plenty of other people who have covered this piece. So in this video, I just wanted to share with you some of the key features and how they have affected my experience with this watch. So let's get started. The SKX features the Seiko 7S26 automatic movement with day and date display. This is an old but tried and true movement for Seiko. It is reliable and has been known to last a long time without the need of service. That being said, this movement is dated. First off, the 7S26 lacks hacking. This means that when the crown is pulled out for adjustments, the second hands keep moving. This is not a deal breaker, but is an annoyance, especially for someone like me who tries to sync the time as precisely as possible. The seconds being off is just one of those things that sits in the back of my head, but I can get over it. You can of course do something known as backhacking, which essentially is forcing the movement to stop, which in turn stops the second hand. I personally choose not to do this just to possibly stretch the life of the movement out as long as possible. The second annoyance with this movement is its lack of hand winding feature. This means that when the movement stops, you essentially have to shake the watch in order to get the rotor to wind the movement up and get everything moving. Again, this is not a deal breaker, just a minor annoyance. In use, my only complaint with this would be that it is difficult, if not impossible, to know how wound up the movement is. Because there's no way to measure the power reserve, you'll have no idea how long you can let the watch sit still for. This makes it difficult for people with sedentary lifestyles to keep the watch constantly running. You just have to get experience with the watch and get a feel for how much movement you need to keep the watch wound and ready to go. However, I will give it up to Seiko because the winding mechanism of this movement is very efficient. If the movement stops, it seems like just by picking the watch up, it starts back up again. The first time that I picked this watch up, the movement has stopped. I shook the watch 3 times and the movement came alive again. I decided to put the watch down just to see how far 3 shakes can get me. The watch ran for over an hour before I got bored and gave up on trying to keep track of it. This is my first non-hand winding movement, so I can't say if this is a little or a lot, but I'm personally amazed. The 7S26 gave a lot of output for so little input. In short, it takes very little effort to get the movement going. Because of this, if you wear this watch often or you move your arms around a lot while wearing it, the movement should be wound up pretty well and you won't have to worry too much about the power reserve. In terms of design, the SKX features Seiko's proprietary hardlex mineral for the front display. This is a point of complaint for many people as a sapphire display would have been more desirable. Sapphire is a harder crystal, so it's less prone to scratches. I personally would have preferred the sapphire crystal, but what am I going to do? It is what it is. I would say that in my use, I haven't had a problem with the hardlex display. This isn't a watch that I baby, but it isn't something that I go out and try to abuse. I just wear it for everyday purposes, whether that's for yard work, fishing, or whatever. I haven't gotten any scratches yet, but it's probably just a matter of time. For me, watches are just one of those things that I know will get some damage if I wear it all the time. And the probability of scratches is just higher with hardlex than sapphire. That's just a fact. But who knows, only time will tell. If this is a big determiner for you, just hold on because we'll get back to this. Being that this is a dive watch, the SKX also features a unidirectional 120 click rotating bezel, water resistance of 200 meters, and a large screw down crown. The crown of the SKX is notable because it happens to be offset at the 4 o'clock position. This was a feature that I was really looking forward to trying out because I've always complained about the crown being at the 3 o'clock position. Again, I like to wear a watch pretty much all the time, and that includes in the gym. Well, if you're lifting weights and doing certain pushing exercises, your wrist will likely be fully articulated and bent back. When this happens, I find that the 3 o'clock crown often gets jammed into the top of my hand, making it uncomfortable, painful, and can be detrimental to my lifts. I of course can loosen the strap and back the watch off, which is what I do, but I don't want to have to take this extra step. I don't want to adjust my watch every time that I go to the gym, and I just don't like to wear a loose watch in general. From my experience, the 4 o'clock crown reduces this problem but doesn't solve it. There's still times when the crown will get jammed to the top of my hand and cause some discomfort. I guess the next step is to just try a watch with the crown on the left side of the case. The SKX's dial features LumaBrite treated hands and markers. LumaBrite has come to be known for being extremely luminous, and I would agree with this. Everything glows extremely bright. When I wear this watch to bed and want to check the time in the middle of the night, everything is legible and I really appreciate that. If you actually intend to dive with this watch and give the LumaBrite adequate time to charge, I think that you'll be satisfied with what you get. One thing that I'd like to point out that not too many people mention is the day display of this movement, which features dual languages. Prior to purchase, I found out that not only are there SKXs of different size, color, band type, and country of origin, but there are SKXs that feature a different language for the second language. If I'm correct, all SKXs feature English, but for the second language, I know that there is a possibility for French, Spanish, and of course, Arabic. I've seen posts on the internet saying that versions with Japanese kanji and Roman numerals also exist, and I've seen Google images of these, but I'm not sure if these are factory or modified SKXs. Nothing against French or Spanish, but I really wanted the Arabic version. This just makes the watch that bit more unique, different, and cooler to me. The second language is typically randomly distributed and usually based on where the dealer that you bought the watch from is located. Say you're buying this watch from a dealer in France. Your chances of getting a French second language is going to be pretty high. Some dealers just get a mix of everything. If this is so, you can make a request and maybe they can accommodate for your needs. I got lucky. I knew that I wanted Arabic, but didn't even bother to ask and just left it up to chance. I figured that I'd end up with the Spanish version since I'm in the US, but I opened up the box and the Arabic day was already displayed. At this point I knew that it was fate. I was meant to own this watch and I couldn't be happier. If I had to complain about the SKX009J, it would have to be with the strap and spring bars. Let's first start with the strap. This complaint is going to be for those who are interested in any SKX that comes with a rubber strap. I personally found that the strap to be very rigid. Even after days of use, it didn't seem to conform or become any more pliable. Coming from a regular G-Shock wearer, I still like how this SKX rubber strap feels and I took it off pretty quickly. This leads me to the next complaint. In trying to remove the rubber strap, I found that it was much more difficult to remove the SKX's spring bars than any other watch. This is because the SKX's spring bars do not have the typical shoulders that you would hook the spring bar tool's fork end into. It is essentially flat metal on metal contact. I found that I just had to force the spring bar tool between the spring bar and the watch case. It didn't help at all that the original rubber strap is very thick and essentially fits in between the lugs from edge to edge. There is almost no extra room, so it's like you're just working in the dark. You just have to jam the spring bar tool in there and wiggle it around. If the spring bars come off, that's great. If not, you just have to keep jamming the spring bar tool in there until it does. All of this is just a recipe for disaster and, in my opinion, guaranteed damage to the watch case. If you want my advice, remove the strap and spring bars from the back of the watch. That way if there's any damage, at least it'll be hidden. One upside to this is that the stock Seiko spring bars are extremely thick and robust. I have spare spring bars that I planned on installing in the watch, but I didn't realize how flimsy they were compared to the Seiko spring bars. I ended up just putting the Seiko spring bars back on the watch, and this has now become a permanent NATO strap watch because I can switch between those straps without needing to remove the spring bars. So that, in a nutshell, is the Seiko SKX. At first, I was attracted to this watch purely because of its aesthetic. I just love this Pepsi bezel and knew that I wanted to add it to my collection. It was just a bonus that this watch provided me with what I was looking for. A cheap option that I could wear, possibly beat up, and not worry too much about. At around $250, this watch just fits the bill. It provides me with the essential and that's about it. It's a no-frills watch. But I have to be honest, this isn't even the best option that you can get for the money. There are other alternatives that are around the same price or even cheaper that provides the things that the SKX doesn't. Things like hacking, hand winding, and of course a sapphire display. But I think that those who want to buy an SKX is buying into the legend of the SKX. Like I said earlier, the SKX is iconic. It has history. It's extremely popular and sought after, and it's able to bring the hype even though it's a relatively cheap watch and super mass produced. The SKX itself has a certain prestige that not many other watches have, and that alone is priceless. And at the end of the day, if you have to have those things that the SKX lacks, you can always buy them and retrofit it. The SKX has such a large aftermarket and custom community that you can essentially make this watch look like anything or make it do anything that you want. Also, if you don't want to do the work yourself, there are plenty of other people out there doing custom-made SKXs for sale, so really the sky is the limit. Me personally, I like this SKX009J as is. I just love this thing and will stick with it for as long as possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it around, comment down below with any thoughts or questions that you may have. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.